Donald Trump visits U.S. troops in Afghanistan on Thanksgiving. The party of ex-Sudan leader Omar al-Bashir dissolved. Also on the news, nearly 40 killed in fresh wave of protests in Iraq. A very good afternoon to you. Welcome to the World News here on Independent Television. We're coming to you live from Benin City, Nigeria. I'm Uyi Agmofwegbe. The 7th Convocation ceremony of Nigeria's premier private university, Igbenedion University, Okada, have commenced yesterday with a maiden lecture for the Center for Climate Change and SDGs. Pius Nsogo reports that a lecture with the topic Global Transformation, Emergencies, Dilemma and Decisions was delivered by Professor Richard Michael Paget of the European Center for Peace and Development, United Nations University for Peace.
Speech, the Vice-Chancellor, Igbenedion University, Okada, Professor Lawrence Ezemoye, said the idea to establish Center for Climate Change and SDGs was born on 22nd November 2018, when a former ambassador of the European Union to Africa, Ambassador Tim Clerk, challenged the university community at one of the convocation lectures of the university to mainstream climate change and SDGs conversation into higher education platform. He noted that the effort has paid off and further positioned IUO as a trailblazer in that area.
Climate change is a global issue with local devastating impacts and imprints that affect ecological, economical, socio-political, and every environmental aspect of our life.
The Pro-Chancellor and Chairman, Board of Governing Council, Professor Sheikh Ahmed Abdullah, said Igbenedion University Okada will continue to pursue excellence and ensure quality programs that will produce global leaders of the 21st century.
If all we can only be worried about time is enough for any kind of lecture we want to give, time changes. So it's not surprising that climate is also changing. But what is it carrying and debris is our fears.
Delivering a lecture titled Global Transformation, Emergencies, Dilemma and Decisions, Professor Richard Michael Paget enumerated the effects and challenges of global warming, pointing out that the problem has reached an alarming proportion and difficult to stop. Professor Paget emphasized the need for countries of the world to rise to the challenges.
Because of the political inertia of the last several years, it is probably less likely now that we can meet the requirements for a 2-degree world, let alone a 1.5-degree world. But underneath all that is an ecological emergency and our resource consumption, particularly with a growing population of probably in excess of 10 billion, according to the UN figures, by 2100. As we start to increase in numbers, we start to consume more. And as we consume more, the pressure on the land becomes unsustainable.
The lecture was attended by several dignitaries who include two-time former governor of Edo State and Deputy Chancellor Chief Lucky Nosaka Igbenedion, management, staff and students of the university. Pius Nsogo reporting.
In the meantime, a former two-time governor of Edo State and Deputy Chancellor of Igbenedion University, Okada, Chief Lucky Nosaka Igbenedion, has emphasized the need for Nigerians to join hands in the fight against climate change. Chief Lucky Igbenedion stated this at the maiden lecture for the Center for Climate Change and SDGs as part of activities marking the 17th Convocation of Igbenedion University, Okada. Patience Osagiwa has details.
Arising from the lecture delivered by a professor of sustainable development of the European Center of Peace of the United Nations, University of Peace, Belgrade, Serbia, Professor Richard Michael Paget, a former two-time governor of Edo State and Deputy Chancellor of Igbenedion University, Okada, Chief Lucky Igbenedion said utmost priority should be given to climate change by government at all levels in Nigeria.
We have to look into our climate situation very seriously, and every nation should take it serious, especially Nigeria as well, with the growing population and the use of the natural resources that will be in higher demand with a higher population. So one has to start thinking about solutions on how to create a solution for the climate change.
Also speaking, some scholars who include the Pro-Chancellor of Igbinedion University, Okada, Professor Sheikh Ahmed Abdullah, appreciated the institution for focusing on the topic climate change, especially as it's affecting the health indices globally.
In terms of the issues raised, he posed dilemmas, he posed emergencies, he illustrated the need to take decisions. But we have to unite for global management of the change in climate.
We have to be very conscious of what happens in our environment now. Once people are aware and they're educated about the situation, they tend to cope better.
We're happy with what the university is doing, and we look forward to working and partnering with the university to develop the agenda further. And one other flank we want to bring to it is natural capital, which no university in Nigeria is looking at today. We will look at that and see how Igbinedion University takes the lead in that aspect, which no other university in Nigeria is focusing attention on.
The Vice Chancellor, Igbinedion University, Okada, Professor Lawrence Ikechukwu Ezemunye, while enumerating some of the achievements recorded by the Center for Climate Change and SDGs of the institution, said the university will drive the cause of climate change and impute it into the school curriculum and join Nigeria in the fight for climate change.
The university has just established a Center for Climate Change and Sustainable Development, which is what the United Nations wants now, for climate change to be mainstream into higher education. So we took the initiative, and so all we had to do was to go for the best. Apart from that, we're also part of the Gaia Foundation, an endorsed program with the United Nations. It's going to be handling SDG programs in the African continent. So that's exactly what we want to do in Igbinedion University.
Dignitaries who cut across the academia, environmentalists and students converged on the University Library Conference Hall at Okada for the 17th Convocation lecture on climate change titled Global Transformation, Emergencies, Dilemma and Decisions, organized by the Center for Climate Change and SDGs, Igbinedion University, Okada. There was tight security at the event. Patience Osaugiwa reporting.
A former military president, General Ibrahim Babangida, has lent his voice against the hate speech bill, warning the sponsors of the bill cannot muzzle Nigerians. General Babangida said the bill was inimical to the growth of the country and does not support the ideals of a democratic society. The former military president spoke during the visit of the national leadership of the Nigerian Union of Journalists on Wednesday at his hilltop residence in Minna, the Niger State capital. According to him, there is no basis for the hate speech bill before the National Assembly, and no one can muzzle the voice of Nigerians. The former military leader noted that a similar bill was presented before the 8th National Assembly, and he had advised against it, saying he was surprised that the bill has resurfaced. The former military president also described the death penalty prescribed in the bill as crude. General Babangida, however, informed his visitors that he would join Nigeria Union of Journalists and other stakeholders to protest the passage of the bill. Elsewhere, President Muhammadu Buhari yesterday unveiled the strategy documents aimed at galvanizing the nation's digital economy. The president unveiled the strategy at the E-Nigeria Conference, Exhibition and Awards for 2019, held in Abuja, the nation's capital. Pius Nsogo has details.
President Buhari said the digital economy is globally expanding at a very fast pace and has transitioned from being a luxury to an absolute necessity. He directed development and training of personnel in digital economy across all ministries, departments and agencies.
A key equipment of the e-government master plan is for all government institutions to create a digital transformation technological working group that will work with the Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy to ensure seamless and coordinated implementation of projects, programs, and policies. Furthermore, the Nigerian e-government interoperability framework, the enterprise architecture, and the Nigerian data protection regulation are in place, and all ministries, departments, and agencies are expected to comply with these policies. I have therefore directed the Federal Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy to develop training and sensitization programs that will be rolled out across all key MDAs with immediate effect to ensure seamless implementation of the master plan.
The conference, which is the 12th edition this year, is Nigeria's annual Information Technology Summit, hosted by the National Information Technology Development Agency. Dignitaries at the event include Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Issa Pantami, Director General NITDA, Kashifu Abdullahi, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, and representative of the Speaker, House of Representatives. The two-day event, which attracts global participation, will unlock the country's potential in the virtual economy. Pius Nsogo reporting.
The House of Representatives has mandated 3 of its committees to intervene in the conflict between the federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities over the implementation of integrated payroll and personal information system policy. President Muhammadu Buhari recently issued a directive for the implementation of the integrated payroll and personnel information system for the payment of salaries of all federal government workers. The president said any worker not on the platform will not receive salary after October 31. The federal government and ASU have disagreed over the new directive. Nigerian Federal University workers said they would automatically go on strike if the government carries out its threat to withhold their salary for refusing to enroll in the new payment system. The motion at the House of Representatives was moved during plenary by Tajuddin Abbas. The House Committees on Finance, Education, Labor, Employment and Productivity are to intervene in the face-off with a view to identifying the cause and reconciling the warring parties. He said going on strike may jeopardize the current peace and stability being enjoyed on university campuses. In his ruling, the Speaker, Femi Gbajabiamila, mandated the committees to report back within 2 weeks for further legislative action. The federal government has said that it is adopting continuous improvement plans for teachers to develop their teaching performances. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, who disclosed this at Nigeria's annual education conference in Abuja, said the intention is to give teachers a new approach to learning, teaching, and helping solve real-life problems. He said teachers, to a large extent, make a difference in the lives of their students and modern society in raising the bar at what is expected of teachers when it comes to teaching and learning. The theme for the 2019 Nigeria's annual education conference is Education for Sustainable Livelihoods, a systematic approach to strengthening the sector for productivity and global competitiveness. And back home, ahead of the grand finale of the 2019 Miss ITV Beauty Pageant, camping activities to prepare the contestants for the event have commenced in Benin City. Kingsley Uchegbo reports that as part of camping opening, the contestants were hosted to a poolside welcome party.
Registration of over 36 contestants for the 2019 Miss ITV Beauty Pageant commenced at the corporate office of ITV and Radio, Glasshouse, Airport Road, Benin City. Thereafter, they were hosted to a lunch by the Chief Executive Officer, Mama Ebo Pepper Rice, Mrs. Patience Enobakare, who in a remark encouraged the contestants to be focused and work hard to win the grand finale of the event. The day's activities climaxed with a welcome party for the contestants, which featured a dance competition. In a remark, Chairman Special Events Committee, Mr. Sonny Duke Okosun, urged the contestants to be amenable to new ideas which will improve on their personality as they adhere strictly to the camp rules and regulations.
Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer will truly treasure this. We appreciate this partnership. We hope that we can sustain this over the years. At every point in time that we need your support and the collaboration, you're always there.
The 2019 Miss ITV Hot Legs Beauty Pageant is slated for Sunday at Elora Royal Hall and Suites, Sapler Road, Benin City at 5 o'clock in the evening. Kingsley Uchebu reporting.
You're watching the World News here on independent television. Still to come, U.S. President Donald Trump visits U.S. troops in Afghanistan on Thanksgiving. We'll have details of this and more for you right after the break. Let's bring you stories beyond Nigeria now. President Donald Trump has made an unannounced visit to U.S. troops in Afghanistan, being his first time in the country for Thanksgiving holiday. During the brief appearance at Bagram Airfield, President Trump served a turkey to soldiers, posed for photographs, and met Afghan President Ashraf Ghani. In a speech to troops, President Trump said the U.S. was in talks with the Taliban, which he said wants to make a deal. President Trump also said the U.S. was substantially reducing troop numbers. Some 13,000 U.S. troops remained in Afghanistan 18 years after the U.S. intervention to oust the Taliban following the 11th of September 2001 attacks. The visit comes after a prisoner swap with the Taliban aimed at resuming peace negotiations. Anti-government protests have erupted on a regular basis in Iraq in recent years. The unrest started on October 1 when people took to the streets of the capital, Baghdad, and the south to express their anger at endemic corruption, high unemployment, public services, and foreign interference. The protesters blocked roads, oil facilities, ports, and clashed with security forces who have routinely fired live ammunition in response. At least 350 people have reportedly been killed and 15,000 injured. Adesuwa Irunoha has details.
The UN and US have urged the government to stop using violence against protesters and pass terrorist measures. At the end of term, Prime Minister Abdul Mahdi demoted Iraq's popular counter-terrorism chief. The decision was met with anger on social media, and calls went out for protests on October 1 against the government's failure to provide basic services. People reached the location of government offices and foreign embassies. The heavy-handed response fell anger and protest square to southern and central provinces. After this protest on October 9, Abdul Mahdi promised to reshuffle his cabinet, cut down salaries of senior officers, and launch a scheme to reduce youth unemployment. But the protesters said their demands had not been met and returned to the streets on October 25. The protesters, who are mostly under the age of 30 and represent a cross-section of society, did not appear to present their demands. However, it is the one-time nation and all of the 20 politicians failed to protect living standards despite ranks and all resources. Adesuwa, even high.
Video using of Fuse League has rejected TikTok's explanations for blocking her. TikTok has issued Feroza Aziz an apology after it denied her access to its service and briefly took her clip offline. The Chinese-owned app had blamed the human moderation error for the video's removal and said her phone was blacklisted because of an video she had posted. The British strict anti-terrorism policy. Ms. Aziz was interviewed before TikTok restored her access, but has not changed her mind since. Let's come to Africa now. A law has been passed in Sudan dissolving the party of ousted former President Omar al-Bashir. Mr. Bashir seized power in a 1989 coup and ruled for almost 3 decades until he was overthrown by protest movements in April. The country's transitional authorities also repealed the public order law that was used to police women's behavior. Both measures responded to key demands of the protest movement, which aims to dismantle Mr. Bashir's regime. Sudan is currently led by a joint military and civilian council, as well as a civilian-led cabinet headed by Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok. Dissolving Mr. Bashir's National Congress Party means that the authorities can seize the party's assets. The decree confirmed that a committee will be formed to do this. A spokeswoman for the Sudanese Professionals Association said the protest group toppled al-Bashir. The controversial public order law that severely curtailed women's rights in Sudan was also repealed. On October 25 November, Sudan held its first march in decades for the International Day for Eliminating Violence Against Women. The 3 men have been jailed for plots in the large-scale terror attacks in busy areas of central Melbourne in Australia. The men, inspired by Islamic State, had aimed to use machetes and explosives to maximize casualties during the Christmas period in 2016. It was one of the most substantial terror threats to Australia in recent years, the government said at the time. A court jailed Abdullah Charani and Ahmad Mohammed for 38 years. Hamza Abbas was jailed for 22 years. The men, all aged in their 20s, were convicted last year after admitting to their crimes. Justice Christopher Beek in Victoria's Supreme Court today said the plot was an assault on the fundamental societal values. A fourth man, Ibrahim Abbas, was jailed for 24 years last year for his role as a leader of the group. Prosecutors said the men had aimed to target Federation Square, a street station, and other landmarks in the city center. They had planned to kill people using machetes, guns, and improvised explosive vests. Police forged the plots after intercepting the group's text messages and emails. As we call it a wrap here on the World News on ITV, another look at our top stories. President Donald Trump has made an unannounced visit to U.S. troops in Afghanistan, his first time in the country for the Thanksgiving holiday. We also told you a law has been passed in Sudan dissolving the party of ousted former President Omar al-Bashir. Mr. Bashir seized power in a 1989 coup and ruled for almost 3 decades until he was overthrown by movement in April of this year. That's the full circle on the World News on ITV. Many thanks for watching. I am Uyi Agmufwebe. Our coverage of the news continues here on ITV. Good afternoon.
Independent television news, truly independent.
Oh, what be all this one now? Why they go take life for this interesting movie now?
This generator safe, you know who they work. Generator safe, you know who they reliable.
Mama Osas, they don't take our light, so this one a light, we know they greedy awful. I wanna say they do them now, and this drama does be interesting,
Come in.
Only you there, yeah?
Yes, I did.
The generator safe, you know let me start. Neighbor, how you take do and save more, no they get generator sound and you get light?
Neighbor, you never hear of the Better Life boss?
I never hear them.
Better Life, now the solar boss. We get the ability to power your basic appliances.
Serious?
You know see as I dey enjoy life. My phone, my TV, my everything. It dey very affordable, e not dear. You fit pay small. The Better Life boss, you know they make noise. E know they carry smoke. It dey very easy to use. Go number 91A, Lagos Street, off Nevis Road, Benin City, Edo State, Nigeria. They get a Jabrata for there. My brother, sit down more what you feel.
God's Royal Restoration Assembly International Incorporated presents Encounter to Recover Conference 2019. Date Tuesday 26th and Wednesday 27th November 2019. Sunday 1st December 2019. Annual Harvest Thanksgiving Celebration 9 a.m. daily. Host Bishop Dr. Francis Adogun, the prophetic professor. Guest speaker Apostle Favor Maduforo, the hot prophet. Venue 1 Holy Ghost Way off Orunwese Street, Upper Owina Road, after IUO filling station, Affordable Quarters, Benin City. For inquiries, call these numbers 0706 715 1510, 0805 527 6798 or 0809 672 0909. Encounter to Recover Conference 2019. Don't be left behind. Jesus is Lord.
This is our picking marriage. I no want me go carry the kind of shoe where you carry for my papa burial. That's not the reason why you go follow me go the place where all the better people for this country, Nigeria, they buy their